Actually, I'm curious. How do you pronounce it? Is it saya or saya?
Saya.
Because in Filipino, it's saya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Saya,
okay.
saya, right? Ang saya, saya.
Yeah, saya, saya.
So today's guest has a knack for walking into wildly different rooms and making them his. From the corporate polish of P&G to the street level chaos of startups, from dating apps to AI labs, Delbert adapts fast, works the problem from inside, and always leaves with something built that lasts. He self identifies as a roll up your sleeves, do anything CMO, and the receipts are there. Handing out flyers himself, rebranding graffiti as doodle installations, and patching together a lean martech stack without engineering. And now he's betting big on AI agents and workflows while everyone is still writing think pieces about possibilities. So this isn't a conversation about marketing best practices. It's really about the leaps, the messy middles, and how you turn unfamiliar territory into your own home turf. Welcome to Selfmade, Delbert.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
It is gonna be fun. So I want to start with that thing like upfront. You've moved between worlds that operate like really differently. PNG first, then startups, dating apps, and now AI. And in each one, you've had to figure out things really, really fast. So let's go back to that very beginning of that pattern. What is the first time in your career where you felt completely out of debt? And how did you get through it?
Well, I guess if you think about it from a career standpoint, the very first one would be in P&G when I was handling laundry. Now, for context, I'm a privileged Filipino Chinese boy who's never done laundry in his life before, living on my own. And it's always, there was someone else doing it. So for me, being in P&G handling laundry, not knowing a single thing about laundry, the very first thing I had to do was immerse myself in actual people doing laundry. I would literally sit for hours. Like, I think at some point I clocked like 3 hours. I'm sitting beside this mom in some rural part of the Philippines, observing, asking questions. Why are you doing this? Why do you scrub this way? Why not that way? Why do you use this product? Why not that product? Why do you use this specific thing for this specific kind of clothing? So, all sorts of questions. And it's coming from this place of curiosity because I didn't know anything. And soon enough, I learned stuff. I was able to apply some of the things that I learned into real business changing developments. Like one of my favorite examples, and I think this specific example has gotten me, tons of different opportunities. But one of my favorite examples is when I joined P&G, like this brand Tide in the Philippines,
Mhm.
the the bar business. So in the Philippines, you don't find it here in Singapore. In the Philippines, they still use a laundry bar. So
Yeah.
it's like so they to scrub manually, right? And when I joined, that business was down 70% from a year ago. So massive reduction in sales. And there's a single reason for that because they had launched a new kind of bar, which was supposedly innovative. It was innovative. It was in a different shape. It had the handle shape. So imagine a soap bar, but it's shaped like a handle, so it's easier to grip.
Oh,
So okay, interesting. It looks innovative. Like I've never seen a soap bar like that, right?
yeah.
Now here's the thing. It tanked. People didn't like it. And when I was trying to investigate why people didn't like it, I that's where I spent lots of time talking to all these moms. And
Mm-hmm.
then why don't you use this? It's so nice, right? Easier to hold, like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't slip. And their logic was really simple. They were like, I like the old design because the old design basically had ridges on both sides. That meant I could use both sides. Like once this was dull, then I could flip it and then still use it.
Yeah.
But because now it's a handle,
Yeah.
that top part of the handle is smooth. I can't use it.
Oh.
So to them, you've changed something to be half as useful for their specific use case. So then I was thinking, okay, this seems so obvious. Like, why did this get missed?
Yeah.
And here's where the thing that I at least thought was really fascinating. There's a difference in behavior with how moms in the urban cities use the bar versus those in the rural
Mm.
areas. The people in the urban cities, they use the bar for spot cleaning. But the people in the rural areas, they use the bar as the main thing.
Mhm.
So if you're using it for spot cleaning, then handleability was great. So this is a great product. So now when I looked at the actual test results, because P&G, they test everything
Yeah.
before they launch. How do
Yeah.
you miss this? The test results passed, but they passed because it was over indexing on testing amongst the urban population.
Yeah.
But guess what? Majority of the volume of sales for this kind of product comes from the rural areas. So it's like a confluence of all of these wrong choices, wrong questions to the wrong person that translated into this big issue. So with that all said, everyone was clear. Okay, now we have to backtrack. So then I was lucky to be part of that reversal. So then the next year, my numbers look amazing. so 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 that's an example of like me not knowing anything was
Mm.
actually an advantage because I'm asking the dumb questions like
Mhm.
why this, why that,
Mhm.
and I don't have too much of an ego when it comes to these kind of things. I'll ask the questions if I think it's useful, and usually I do find something.
Yeah. And I think it's like you have that like genuine like curiosity that allows you to be so adaptable even like, in speaking with like a mom or like speaking to a board member. And do you feel like that's something you've always had, or did you have to train yourself to be like, Delbert, let's go out and be curious?
I think I've always had it. I remember very vividly how I would annoy my mom because of all my questions when I was young.
Yeah.
And now that I have a 4-year-old son, I see a similar kind of pattern. He's asking why this, why that. Um, and what's funny is with him, when I try to do the same thing, why are you doing this? Why that? Right? So he's developed a strategy to stave off those questions. He's just gonna say, "That's just the way it is.
I love
That's
that.
just the way it is." So it's like I mean like he's already smarter than me at
Yeah.
4 years. So to just push off those kind of questions. But yeah, I think I've always been curious with these kind of things. I think one of my core strengths has been because of that curiosity, I'm able to just learn learn stuff and learn not in the traditional way, like
Yeah.
not textbook. In fact, I was telling a friend or a friend of mine was asking recently, like, hey, know any good books?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you'd be surprised. I actually don't read very many books. I probably read all the way to the end, like maybe 10, 15 books in my life. So not a lot. So then she was surprised because she thinks I'm smart. So then I said like, but that's not how I learn. I learn through asking questions, through digging, doing my own
Mm.
research. Like if I have to buy a book or, and then have everything presented in a certain way, that's not how I learn. I learn through doing my own research, asking questions, asking people, asking different kind of people. That's how I learn. And I think, it's worked for me so far.
Yeah. So you know the feeling of being like the newest kid in the room and like the rules are not clear yet and you're still kind of like figuring out like what the vibe is. What's your first move? Do you identify that one person to ask a question, or do you like wait and see, like sense out who knows what and who's the knowledge leader of like various fields?
So one thing I did when I joined CMB, actually before I joined CMB, and it's coming from this learning when I was in circles, is that certain people hold certain institutional knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that are really, really helpful, and it's not documented. So before I joined CMB, I actually created a survey. I asked the CEO, hey, can you distribute this survey to so and so people? And then based on that survey, it would tell me who has certain institutional knowledge that would actually be super helpful for me,
Yeah.
so that when I on board, I'm not guessing. I know who to ask.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was, super, super helpful in just getting me onboarded really, really fast.
I really like that you say that because I think that's the very like remarkable trait about you. Like you've played in two very different worlds, right? Like it was super corporate, polished, rules driven vibe of P&G, and then this like just get it done energy of startups. What is this one corporate career habit that you've learned that you've taken from P&G and applied it to, maybe it's your time at Circles or time at CNB or even now?
It's, I would say the most critical thing I learned in PNG and I got to really, really hone was how to be principled in your thinking, how to think in, like it's so overused now. Like people say, oh, first principles, all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like back in 2008 when I was in PNG, that was the thing that they would drill into you. Like
Mm.
think principles, think strategy, don't think in execution. And because I had like this mental model on how to think, I would take that everywhere. And it was super helpful in just imagine any kind of conflict resolution. Like if you and I disagree on a thing, let's say how to arrange this table, for instance, we can always step back to the point where we agree.
Mm.
And that's where you and I would share the same principle. And based on that shared principle, we can then elaborate again, okay, how do we arrive at something that we both agree on? And that's been super useful in a lot of places that I've worked at. So for instance, in circles, the literally the first thing I did there was put together a brand document, like
Yeah.
what is circles about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be able to put something together like a brand document, you need to think of principles, like what is the
Mm.
principles that the brand need to abide by, right? So that kind of thinking has worked pretty much everywhere I've been to. Even now, like I'm building my app, um and I'm sure like there's something you'll touch on later. But that's something I'm building from scratch, but I'm building it from principles. Like I'm building like one very core principle I'm
Yeah.
building it with is I'm building it for a very specific kind of person. It's a very opinionated piece of software. Like a very small thing that and frankly it's for me. Like it's a to-do list app. When I open it, the keyboard automatically shows up because so I can type right away whatever. I
Mm.
don't need to click a button or whatever. For some people, they might not want that. They might want to see whatever they have going on for the day or whatever else, right? So those kind of choices I've made up front before I even wrote a single line of code because I think in principles. And that's something I learned in PNG.
Do you know that's the first time I've ever heard of someone's like mentioned first principles and thinking in principles as that one corporate habit? Because usually it's like how to communicate, like organizational stuff. But I think this is really it. Like it's the way that you think and the way that you process information. And given that you've been in leadership roles, it's how you allow yourself to be understood, right? In a way that it's not up for debate. Like these are the facts and this is the way of how I look at things and like the ways of working with me. I love that. But conversely, like, are there habits that you've had to unlearn? Things that
Yes.
you would never do anymore?
Yes. So the thing that happens when you're in a big corporate is there is a web of or a network of support structures that you are in a way forced to use, whether you like it or not.
Mm.
And basically, if you chart my evolution from PNG all the way to, being a one man show right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's just doing more and more of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And in PNG, you have your agencies to
Mm-hmm.
work with, you have your multifunctional team to work with. And I kind of took that with me to some degree in circles, but then as I moved to CMB, like we just ran with zero agencies. We ran as independently as possible, and to now, like I'm doing everything myself. Like
Yeah.
the thing that I unlearned was, and it's a process with each step, was how much more you can do yourself.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily need others. And not to sound, so antisocial, but I think it plays so well with my core skill or one, superpower of learning because I just have such a high confidence in my ability to learn a thing. However, tangentially opposed it is to whatever I already know.
Mm.
So because of that, like I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Like, if I don't, I'll know how to figure it out.
Mm. Let's talk a bit about that evolution because I know it well. Like, I want to hear, from you. And I think earlier on, like we were saying that the first time I ever came across you was from a podcast and you were talking so well and so eloquently about viral marketing tactics and some of the work that you've done. But I want to go a bit deeper into like your actual personal career journey. You use the word evolution, which I love because it's about change, it's about growth. For you, what was helpful or what was your guiding principles in navigating each of those career decisions or that? How did you level up?
So again, you'll see like the principle based thinking that I really still cherish from my time in PNG. So when I left PNG let's go back to the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I want to leave PNG? Um, I wanted to leave PNG because I had this thought, I had this belief that with every generation, there is what you would call a gold rush where all the growth happens, all the money
Mm,
happens. And I felt that was not the time for PNG. The time for PNG was in the late 90s, specifically when global free trade agreements happened. PNG started popping up in all sorts of new countries. A lot of people got promoted fast. Each year you'd have double, triple digit growth. So, like things are rocking, right?
yeah.
I was I joined PNG right after the great financial crisis.
Mm,
So it's not really the best, most booming economic time. And at the same time, you had all this excitement going on in tech. So to me, I was like, okay, that's the gold rush of my generation. So I need to be
mm,
in that space somehow. So that was a guiding principle of why I decided to leave PNG. And then the next thing, and this is like, again, like this, like an evolution of my thought process. Now I was asking people who were in tech, like, hey, I want to get into tech. How do I get into tech? And so a friend of mine, she said, "What do you mean tech? Like which tech? B2B tech, B2C? Like she listed the so many different different kinds of tech." And at that point, I didn't know anything. I was
yeah.
like, anything? So I was like super clueless. But then that actually made me think, okay, if okay, I don't know which, so then I have to think, right? Like which one?
Yeah.
Why that? So then I was like, okay, what am I good at? What skills do I, bring to the table? So okay, I worked in P&G, I have consumer experience, consumer marketing experience, and I want to work in a place where they value that.
Mm,
I want to work in a place wherein they value the power of brand. So then, like it immediately eliminated some choices. Like, okay, I don't want to, you know, go to some tech company and then be a sales rep, to sell ads to, my ex colleagues in PNG. I mean, not to say that's bad or whatever. It's just that that's not my choice.
not for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me that's not what I wanted to do. So then, okay, like let me focus on the thing that I think makes sense for me.
Mm.
So then I narrowed down a couple of choices, and why circles made the most sense is when I was having the initial conversations with the founder. We were just talking about brand. We were talking about like what great iconic brands, and then that's what they wanted for circles. So I was like, okay, like this is a tech company which actually valued brand, and in those days, brand marketing, they took the backside. Like when it came to tech, it was always about product. Like if you build it, they will come. Like that was the belief.
Mm.
So finding this kind of role was really, really tough back then. So I was pretty lucky that I found circles, and I found the founders to be, aligned in that way.
Yeah.
Um, and then with CMB, the principle there, or like again, like I had to think deeply, like why leave. Like I was at the time I left circles and joined CMP. I was 6 years in circles, so
Mm.
pretty long. And I've well, it's not as long as when I was in PNG. I was in PNG for 8 years.
Mm.
So I had to think deeply, why am I making this big choice? And I boiled it down to three things. One is I wanted exposure to the US market. I've never worked on a business with the US business.
Yep.
The other thing I also wanted was I wanted to work on a viral social kind of network effects kind of app.
Yeah.
And then the third one was I wanted to work on a brand that was known and to take it to the next level. So with those three things, it made sense. Like it made sense to
Yeah.
take a chance in this.
Yeah.
So that's how I've kind of made all of these like big decisions. I think about it, and sometimes it feels retroactive, but the fact that I have a solid principle guiding the decision, whether the decision came first or the principle, it matters less. The
Yeah.
fact that I have a principle that guides the actual decision is to me the important thing.
Yeah. And in each of these leaps or each of these like decisions, did you ever consider, okay, I'm gunning for this version of success?
Mm.
And if there was a end goal, like an end goal, like what did it look like for you in those three very different stages of your career and of your life?
Yeah, like so with each of these leaps, the first thing I think about actually is how bad can it go? Because you have to be comfortable with the worst case situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, with circles, the worst case scenario in my mind before joining, which I was comfortable with, was that it would be, it would fold,
Mm.
and then I'd be unemployed, and how I reconcile that outcome with how I feel was okay. If that happens, then I guess I'll just go back to FMCG, because like that's my bread and butter. And this time, when I go back, I would have had some startup experience, or
Yeah.
which it
Which is
should
really
account. Yeah, it
valuable.
accounts for something. Similarly for CMB, again, like yes, that's definitely a possibility, but by that point in time, like I was senior enough in my career wherein whether it
Mm.
grows or dies, like there's enough of experience I can draw from it to kind of make my next pitch.
Mm.
Now, to your question about what is the upside, like how do I imagine it, I actually imagine the upside quite vividly. I try to imagine at least what the ceiling is. So an example here is when I was before I joined Circles, I was actually choosing between Circles and this other defunct company called Honest Bee.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
Honest Bee was actually much bigger, more well known, had already expanded in a couple of countries.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about which one to go with, one of the reasons I went with Circles was the ceiling.
Mm.
Because despite their relative success at that point in time, I couldn't imagine a ceiling for Honestbee that was higher than Circles.
Mm.
Because, like, if you imagine what was the best case scenario for Honestbee at that point in time, there was already Instacart in the US.
Right.
I mean, Amazon probably will, get into in demand shopping or something, Uber, whatever. Basically, there's already a global leader when it comes to on demand services. So, best case scenario for Honestbee, in my view, was that it would just get acquired. And
Mm.
sure, that's a great outcome. That's not a bad outcome.
Mm.
But then this was my idealistic tech era. We're in, oh, we're gonna change the world
Yeah.
kind of thing. We're in, for me, I was very much bought into the vision and then the ceiling of what circles could do. It could revolutionize how telco infrastructure was done. It's like it sounds very boring, but hey, it matters to literally everyone on earth. They just obviously don't know about it, but the reason why the thesis was simple. The reason why your telco service sucks is because the infrastructure is
Yeah.
archaic. So if
Yeah.
you can digitize this whole thing,
Yeah.
then it will be as good as the apps and services that you use on your phone.
Yeah. I've been like such a loyal Circles Life user for like more than 7 years now. And then I had a loyalty. It's like one of those like
Yeah,
lifetime like
lifetime.
discounts. Do you know what? I actually tried to break up with Circles Life like early this year.
Uh-huh.
And oh my God, they were so good at getting me back. And I'm still with
Well,
Circles Life.
that's
It was
good.
it was like such a good like just play in like consumer loyalty and also being really strategic with like how you treat your customers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Well,
So
I
my
think
legacy lives on.
yeah, exactly. So I think like the through line in like your story so far and like all your different career opportunities is that I feel like you're really good at creating white space opportunities for yourself. I feel like you know how to seize like what is more than just positive, like you know how to identify what is going to be beneficial for your career, but also entirely plugged in into global economy. And that's not something again like many people see. I think most people think about this is what I'm really good at doing, and then this is just how I'm gonna make my money. You've got an attitude of scrappiness. And I feel like you almost in a way represent to me a new generation and breed of CMOs. Traditional CMOs that I've known that I've seen in the industry are really, you rise through the ranks, you do one thing, you're really good at it, you learn the entirety of the business, but your scrappiness, that ability to like, the ability and the desire to roll up your sleeves, like that is that point of difference for you. And I just wonder, like, what is it about you that makes you want to get in the thick of it, get into action? Why are you out there handing out flyers? Why are you out there being just so hands on? I know that, in your early days of P&G, you've already said you're right down there with mothers, like asking them 1,001 questions. But yeah, it's just what is it about you that are so willing to get your hands dirty?
I think maybe o- one way that I would say is I have the arrogance to say that I can do it better myself. So let me just do it myself. Um, I think part of it is that part of it is I've always believed in leadership by example.
Mm,
Like if I do it, then like there's no excuse for you not to do it. So for
mm-hmm.
instance, one thing I was really proud about in CMB was forming a team that uh to the best of their abilities really follow through all the examples that I've set.
Mm,
So for instance, I made it so that everyone in the marketing team knew how to at the very least write SQL code so they could query their own things.
mm-hmm.
So they didn't need to bother a business analyst or an engineer. And that was something that it wasn't like, here's the gun and then if you don't learn then you're out kind of
Yeah,
thing. It was just, okay, I'm doing it and
yeah,
I'm, explicitly showing that I'm doing it. And I hope you get the hint. And I think, and like I've always been like, I like one thing I try not to be, and obviously like sometimes you can't help it, but I try not to be hypocritical. I try to be consistent. If I say something, then I do that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, say one thing and then do another thing. So I think that's probably the second thing. And then the third thing is that I guess this superpower or belief that I can just learn anything, like however tough it is. Like, I mean, it's, like when we think about, like, it's often used like something that's really tough to learn, like rocket science. It's not rocket science. And I think about that for most things, like literally besides rocket science, everything is not rocket science, right? So everything is not rocket science.
Yeah.
So then, if you take that expression to the extreme, that means everything is, achievable in
Yeah.
some shape or form. And it's not like I'm learning. I'm learning, brain surgery on the fly. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do brain surgery. I'm doing something that's relatively low stakes. Like
Mm-hmm.
no one's gonna die if I make a mistake, right? So that's how I think about it. In fact, it was a common refrain amongst myself and like my colleagues when we were, juniors in PNG. Like when people get stressed, relax. No one's gonna die. You're not curing cancer, right? Like people, because people do get stressed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh no, like this thing is behind timelines or
Oh
whatever,
my gosh,
whatever.
100%. Like nothing is an emergency unless it's an actual
Yeah.
emergency.
So that's how I've kind of, saw through things, and that's why I think like I just let me just do. In fact, like one thing that has really evolved my thinking is at some point my frame of mind was to expand your capacity, you need to delegate.
Mm.
And that's something, they teach you as you, get into leadership. Like you need to, work with the team, yada yada. And I that's true, I guess, in some organizations, but I feel the problem with that is then you stop learning, you stop figuring things out because you're just relying on experts.
Yeah.
And I guess depends on what your growth trajectory is or what your end game is. If your end game is to be, I guess, general to just tell people what to do, then sure, like that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not my end game. My end game is I wanna do stuff. I wanna actually do stuff like that. That is exciting for me because like telling people what to do at some point it gets really boring.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is also that you actually hear a lot of leaders, C-suite or not, say that at some point I want to be in a room where I know nothing and I want people to be telling me, like, I want to be surrounded by experts rather than me telling people what to do. But you're in that sweet spot where it's like, nah, man, like, I also want to know for myself. And I also want to be surrounded by people who know more than me. And then there's that exchange of information that's more equitable in a way.
I think it's actually really interesting that you framed it that way. I didn't think of it that way. It's not that I don't want to be in a room with other people who are smarter. It's just the way I think about it is because like for me, like my learning process, like I was sharing earlier, is like I do ask people. I ask people who are experts. I ask
Yeah.
for their opinion. And I don't necessarily think of it as I shouldn't have a team of people who are specialists in a certain kind of thing.
Mm.
I think of it as, hey, we're all equally good at, the things that we're doing. This is just your scope, this is my scope. And like, I guess like using, let's say, use a sports analogy. Like, imagine a basketball team, right? In the basketball team, if you're a professional basketball player, obviously there's variance. Like there's the Steph Curry who can shoot really well, but they're all within the baseline level of skill,
Yeah.
right? Like they can all dribble pretty well. They can all jump really high.
Mm-hmm.
They're all within the baseline level of athleticism. So that's how I think about it. We're in okay. Everyone has, everyone is equally good at the things that are required to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So then you are doing this, you are doing this, you're doing this, I'm gonna do this. So that's kind of my mental model of the team, as
Yeah.
opposed to um, I know nothing, and then I need to get an SEO expert,
Yeah.
and I need to get an Google Ads expert, and I need to then then it feels like, then what do you do? Then strategy, is that it? Like it's like, okay, like, if it feels good to you, it feels good to you. It doesn't feel good to me. Like
Yeah.
I need to be,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
stuff.
You need to walk the talk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you come up with roll up your sleeves, do anything CMO? Because it's brilliant.
Really, I actually thought of it, on a whim. I don't know if I don't know if it's good or not, but I when I thought of it, I was like, you know what? I guess that this is what makes me different.
Yeah.
Like, I just do anything. Like, for instance, there's a client I'm working with right now where, so the client brought me in because, I have like strategic marketing background,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time I'm highly technical.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was helping this client with a tech product that they were launching. And this is not a tech company, so
Yeah.
they were launching a new tech product. So they needed my support to guide the team.
Mm.
Okay, this how you should think about this blah 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 blah. But then, you know, I'm like, okay, there's like, time consideration, urgency, like, let me just do it. So
Yeah.
then at some point, I'm actually the on-call tech support for this client. Like, hey, like this thing is broken. Can you fix it? Yeah, 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 okay. Fixing it right now. 5 minutes. Done. Okay, check it.
Amazing.
So I'm like, okay, like I don't need to be called
Yeah.
whatever, because I'll just, if the goal is clear, then let's just figure out whatever it takes to get to that goal. I don't need to say like, oh, whoa, 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 I'm just here for the strategy.
Yeah.
That's not my style. Like my style is like, okay, like this is the goal. However, I can help with the goal with my, broad toolkit. I'll do it.
Yeah. I think that's a really current and like in demand like way of working currently, because initially it was all about how do we make the most perfect prototype. But now it's like how do we do it quickly? It doesn't have to be perfect. Learn and iterate, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. So tell us what you're doing now.
So I'm still working with a couple of different clients.
Mm-hmm.
I've been super lucky with that because I guess it's part of my own personal brand that, people come to me. I've been getting like, one inbound a month.
Amazing.
And I have, some retainer clients, so I'm getting some recurring revenue. And the other side is like I've just been neck deep on building stuff with AI. And I don't want to, like there's this term like people use these days. I don't know if you've read too much into it, like vibe coding.
Uh-huh.
I hate that term because it it implies that someone is just, hey, like
Yeah.
actually a common joke like amongst people online is like they'll prompt the AI, build me a $100 billion SaaS, no mistakes.
Sign me up.
No mistakes, please. Um, and then expect AI to just make every. But that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like that's not how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Like in my case, I actually I'm not a trained engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I Can I fix problems? Can I fix bugs myself without AI? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Can I write something from scratch completely without AI? With a lot of copy pasting from somewhere else, I probably can. And I think I'm able to do that because I understand the concepts, I understand the vocabulary,
Mm-hmm.
and I think those things are actually really important. So, for instance, syntax, I'm not great at that. I don't understand the syntax. Like, I'll miss a comma here and there, or I'll miss, whatever. Like, I'll miss something.
Yeah.
But guess what? With AI, that's irrelevant. In fact, like one of the advantages of AI, and maybe it's like, an issue down the line, is typos don't mean
Mm-hmm.
anything. You can write whatever you want to AI and then like make a typo. AI will figure it out, like what you actually mean.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens with, when you're coding. Like, okay, like your
You're
syntax
right.
is wrong, like AI will figure it out. But you need to convey it the vocabulary that is consistent with the coding language
Mm.
that you are using. And for me, that understanding is sufficient to build, the relatively complex stuff that, I've been building.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been like taking up at least half the time. And it's super nerdy. It's super super very specific kind of audience, and it might be an audience of one, just me. But what I'm building is, it's a to-do list app. But what's special about it is when you put something on your to-do list, it time blocks it on your calendar automatically. I found this to be extremely useful when I joined CMB,
Mm.
because when I joined CMB, everyone was on the other side of the world. I had anxiety about being by myself in this time zone.
Yeah.
What the hell do I do?
Yeah.
Is this work? Can
Yeah.
I can I can I go have breakfast? Can I have lunch? Because like you're so used to this very tactile environment
Yeah.
with work, right? Like you go to the office, you talk to
Mm.
people, you have meetings and stuff, and and then suddenly the day is over, and then you go home, and then that's work.
Yeah.
But I was facing a new kind of work, and I was so anxious that, how do I remain productive? How do I, get stuff done? So that's where I figured out this system of time blocking. And at that time, I was using different software, which actually was pretty expensive, like $30-$40 a
Right.
month. But, for me, I thought it was worth it. But then I've never been happy with the choices out there. And I was like, this isn't rocket science. Should be, simple enough. Um, like, I'll give you a very specific example. The tool that I ended up using, um, basically, when you log a task, there's a start date
Mm.
and then there's a due date. And when you log that task, one of the things that this software did was it would also go to Asana. So we were using
Yep.
Asana in,
Yep.
in CMB. Here's the stupid thing, which I like just incensed me. Like I was talking to the developers, the founders, like there was a Slack community. The start date that you put on that app does not reflect on Asana, but the due date does reflect. Isn't that like weird? And then when I asked the founder, like, hey, why isn't this implemented? He said something, oh, it's complicated. It's literally freaking not complicated. So my app, but that's how I see how I got that habit. I got
Yeah.
into that habit of time blocking everything. So I was like, okay, let me, now I have some time, I have some mind space. Let me build this thing. And yeah, then I built this thing, and it's been super 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 fun. It's like I've learned so much.
Yeah.
I've literally leveled up like a million levels when it came to my coding knowledge. Like
Amazing.
um I would say, I don't know if like engineers would disagree, but actual paid engineers would disagree. But I think I'm at least a junior developer level, and it's full stack, both front end and back end, and both Swift, which is the iOS native language, and React. It's actually a rare combination because most software
Right.
engineers are either back end
Yep.
or front end, and then if it's front end, they specialize in certain languages.
Yep.
So, like my coverage is actually quite broad. But yeah, like it's been super fun. It's been really exciting, and I haven't even gotten to the marketing part
Yeah.
yet. This
Yeah.
this this
Yeah.
just this is all just the technical stuff, because and I've just thought through about how I would market this,
Yeah.
because one thing I'm excited about is how I can apply what I've, done in like the last whatever many years to an actual thing that is for me,
Yeah.
right? So I have like a whole organic marketing plan. And then
Amazing.
eventually, like if there's enough revenue, then I can do paid marketing. Because the way I want to run it is I don't want it to eat into my own cash. I
Mm-hmm.
want it to be cash positive from the get-go.
Yep. I mean, that should be the way of building a business,
So
especially around
exactly,
AI.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's
Yeah.
that's we'll see, we'll see. I can't wait. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna launch soon. It's gonna launch
Amazing.
soon.
In the past, we used to always say, like, there's an app for that, right? Anything you wanted, there's an app for that. But now today, it's like, I can build an app for that. And it's such specific, like, use cases you really look at, like, using AI as a cool tool, like, all the way to, like, making it your next big move. I really like that.
Yeah, no, it's like it feels like it's supercharging. Going back to the beginning around my superpower of learning, it's supercharging that, right? Because now
Yes.
you have like a literal partner in learning
Mm-hmm.
all of these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to look for it elsewhere anymore. Like you learn from AI by doing, by reading, by asking questions.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing.
Yeah. The one thing that I really love for AI, for me specifically, it's like it democratizes information, access to information. And I find that so incredibly like empowering. Not just like ChatGPT, but like all the different applications. Now I'm like, holy shit, like there's so much that I can do. We have a running joke, like my co-founders and I, that if someone can code, like I can do blank, blank, and blank. And then every week it's like a different blank because I'm gonna take like 90 minutes to learn it and then like try like a really simple version of it. And if it's just for internal use, it's gonna improve my life, improve my workflow. Like I'm on it, like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, actually, the way I would phrase it is the internet democratized information.
Mm.
AI is democratizing intelligence. And I think like that's like, like that's one step, further because sure, like if the information is there,
It's applied
yeah,
now.
but then now you're applying it
Yeah.
now like with some intelligence. And I think like that's amazing. Like I don't expect that, overnight we'll all be, brain surgeons or rocket scientists or, or software engineers even, but it just means that the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
If you Because at the end of the day, the impetus is still with the individual.
Yeah.
If they want to learn, if they want to do, it's there.
Yeah.
It's just there for the taking.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then they don't. Like that's their own choice.
So why do you think so many marketers are still kind of like on the fence about AI?
I feel there's this obviously very human existential dread
Mm.
around, oh no, what's gonna
Mm.
happen with my job and all of those things. And I empathize with that. I
Mm.
get that. I get where that's coming from. The way I think about it is, and again, it's very optimistic, maybe even a utopian kind of view, but the way I think about it is, well, I better get on the bandwagon before I'm left
Yep.
behind. So let me just actually, instead of getting on the bandwagon, let me push the bandwagon. So the things that I'm working on with like this other client is really about eliminating the marketing function. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
it's just all AI, like how I'm automating certain things. Like for instance, literally before I left, I ran an automation to just upload all the ads for a Meta campaign.
Yeah.
This act of uploading ads takes, depending on the volume of ads, can take a human an hour to a whole day. And most teams still do it that way. And because I'm working with this client as just myself, like as a one man show,
Yeah.
like, okay, it should be too hard to, build this thing. And it wasn't. Nah, I built this thing. So then, yeah, I can just press a button and then it's like I'm sure it's uploaded by now. Like if I check Meta Ads Manager, it's gonna be there. And I think that's the thing where the trepidation on AI is kind of maybe out of sight, out of mind. If
Mm-hmm.
I don't use it, then it's not there. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Mm-hmm.
So either you use it or you lose your job to someone who uses it.
Mm.
Is like something I've read, which I think actually is quite true.
Mm, mm, mm. I like that. Very like authentic and it's just like very real. Like no need for the fluff and like no need for the doom and gloom. Like there's so many marketing WhatsApp chats
Yeah.
that are like that.
But actually, the other thing now on the flip side, I
Yeah.
think I do believe another barrier to actual usage is just they don't know how.
Mm.
Um, I've heard from so many people saying like, "Oh, I prompted this, and then the output was crap, and then because it's crap, then it will take longer for me to fix the output." And because I did this like kind of training on how I use AI and how they can use AI at my friend's company, and I was explaining that you should think of um, you should try to humanize AI
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
with how you use it, because
Yep.
like if you're using AI like, hey, do this thing, go, and the output is bad, it's because your prompt is bad.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do that to a human if you've never met a person. Like, let's say a new team member, hey, do this thing, go. And then obviously they're gonna do a bad job. So I think there's also that perspective. There's a perspective around training.
Mm.
But then the upstream to that, going back to the first point, is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, like, are there people in the world who just needs that nudge, that training manual, and then suddenly they'll be, AI wizards? Maybe. But I think it still boils down to, curiosity. You should figure it out yourself. Like,
Yeah.
there's enough out there. Use AI to learn AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Such amazing insights. Well, we've covered so much. We've covered your leaps, the middles, all the different rooms that you've made your own. And now I want to bring it home. What's one thing you know now about betting on yourself that you wish you knew earlier?
Well, it's hard to answer because I'm very fortunate that I've lived most of my life without regrets. Like I've
Amazing.
just just done stuff. Like
That's another podcast episode.
it's like it's like I remember this one instance when I was in PNG
Mm,
where I was gonna get promoted, and I was waiting for this promotion, and I was based in Singapore, and I was hoping to get the promotion, an assignment in Singapore.
mm.
But then the the promotion assignment that I got was actually in Taiwan. It was a big move because my life was in Singapore. All my friends are in Singapore. I don't know anyone in Taiwan. Like it's like huge move, right?
Yeah.
And then I just took a leap. Like that's another example. Just me taking the leap. Like I was like, in fact, like I had bosses who sensed my trepidation, who were
Mm.
giving me tips. Here's how you let down the offer in a graceful way so they don't feel offended. Say you're in love with someone
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I was gonna say.
so so then they're like, okay, okay.
How to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
for
yeah,
love.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So I was like, okay, okay, I guess that's an out. But ultimately I just made the leap, and I do not regret making that leap. Like I had like an amazing time in Taiwan.
Mm.
I can't think of a good thing that I know now, because I've just taken the leap on most things,
Yep.
or in actually literally everything. I've not said no to a thing. I've just not said no to a thing. If there was like in some case, I would say maybe I was too passive. Like um, and I feel like this is part of the universe being on my side. I'm a big believer. I'm here because I'm like a big part of it is I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like and you'd probably have lots more questions here, but like how I left P&G was a function of luck. Because earlier I talked about how I've decided I want to leave. Guess what? I didn't actually leave on my own volition.
Amazing.
Duracell, the brand I was working on, eventually got acquired, and then when it got acquired, they let me go right after. But they because it got acquired and they let you go, there's some covenant with P&G wherein they have to give you a ton of money. So then, oh great, now I have a ton of money to do the thing that I want to do.
Get into tech.
Yeah, get into tech exactly. So, but I didn't have the balls to just quit P&G on my own, right? So then I was like, just riding the universe
Oh.
wherever you take me. So, yeah, like I mean, it wasn't my decision. Like I didn't ask for Taiwan as an
Mm-hmm.
assignment. Like they just said, like, here's an assignment. Do you want it? Like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then every time I was like, okay. When it came to having choices, that's when I had to think deeply
Yep.
about what was the principle driving the choice. So like the honest bean circles example or leaving circles for CMB, those I had to think deeply. But yeah, I guess there are some leaps wherein I had to think deeply and it was like a real function of choice. The others were,
Yeah.
you know, the universe just made it for me.
Yeah. But rolling of the punches is also like a really strong like character trait. Cause you through it all you had a really clear vision of yourself and like what you wanted, what you didn't want. And even if the waves of the universe like swept you off your feet, you were like, yeah, okay, I can make this work for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it goes back to you know, the start of this podcast. We're in being in unfamiliar rooms,
Yeah.
like and owning it. Like I guess what's funny as well. Like one thing that's very strange about my PNG career
Mm-hmm.
is most people who work in PNG when they join a certain business or category, they stay there. So if you join laundry, you're gonna be a laundry lifer most likely because they want
Wow.
specialization within a specific category, right?
Got it.
I I went from laundry, then I went to hair care, then I went to home care, then batteries. Like it's like
Yeah.
the all sorts of different things. And what I took away from that, and I guess I think this is probably a better answer to your question. What I took away from PNG, what I took away is like, hey, business is a business. Making it's just how much money you make, how much money you spend. Like whether it's laundry, whether it's dating, whether it's telco,
Yeah.
it's all the same kind of business. Like you apply strategy, you cut costs, you make bets.
Yeah.
Um, they share a lot of similar fundamentals.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been kind of quite comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of different environments, different rooms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
like
love that.
this room was different from the last time I was here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, today I learned a lot of things, the most important of which nothing is rocket science except for rocket
Rocket science,
science.
yeah.
And that nothing is an emergency except for an actual emergency. Thank you so much for joining us on Selfmade, Delbert.
Yeah, no, happy. It was super fun.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you for having
know.
me.
I know we're out of time,
Yeah.
but like there's just one thing I want to ask, which is tell us about your LinkedIn content strategy. I'm loving it.
Okay. There's no strategy. There's no strategy.
But you're building in public. That's what
Yeah.
I love. Yeah.
So the strategy there is just, hey, as much as possible, write something on Monday. So on the app that I built, there is a feature called the recurring task. There's a recurring task that shows up every Monday, right on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I try to write something on LinkedIn, and sometimes I have a doc which contains all of my ideas. Um, Sometimes I have ideas that just spontaneously come to me during the week, and sometimes I think of one on the spot on Mondays. You know what's funny? It's I laugh a bit when you say strategy because I sense a pattern in
Uh,
terms of what kind of posts get engagement
okay.
and what doesn't or gets less. And basically, when I talk more about marketing stuff or business or org stuff, teams, all of those things, that resonates. When I talk anything about building product, it doesn't resonate. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
For
yeah. It's
your
just yeah, and
audience?
I think it makes sense because like most of my connections are probably in the
Marketing.
marketing space. Then, oh, what's this guy talking about coding? Like it's like flying
Oh.
like off, like over my head. So I don't want to read this stuff.
But the building stuff will get you leads.
Yeah, so here's if you could call it a strategy. One strategy I've thought of doing was I could combine my marketing stories with, oh, here's how I do it. Has how
In
my
practice.
yeah, and here's how the app helps me do it. So then okay, it's like a product placement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's something, but yeah, I intentionally not overthink it,
Mm-hmm.
because if I overthink it, then I'll be like, oh, I'm chasing the light and all this thing. I'm like, the what's funny is I started the LinkedIn not because I wanted to build, my personal brand or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's because s- like in circles and even in CMB, I've always had thoughts that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Now, not to sound so cynical, but I knew if I drafted a document or wrote something in Slack, no one's gonna read it.
Read it. No
So
one.
what's funny is, but if I write it on LinkedIn in a public space, people from that same company are more likely to read it.
Yeah.
So that was just the reason. Like I just had like lots of these ideas, and okay, like I wish I people would read it so I can engage, and then but I know if I did that on an internal comms kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
platform, like no one will read it.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, like that's why. That's
Yeah.
why. So it wasn't like for fame or the
Yeah.
followers,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing. Like in fact, like actually what's funny is like I don't think my follower has grown so much. It's like, like I haven't done anything very viral. But
Mm-hmm.
I do hear, from people like you, like, oh, I like the content. So
Yeah.
that makes me happy.
Yeah. 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 It's important. I mean, it's not just like run of the mill like vanilla stuff that you're churning out. It's like actual. This is what I did. This is what I'm building. Like these are my challenges. Those are the ones I enjoyed. Yeah. Cool.
Cool,
Well,
cool, cool,
thank
cool, cool.
you.
Thank you.